Okay, so you've thought about how to prepare yourself mentally for the entire interview process. Now let's think about getting ready specifically for the first question. And here's one of the biggest lessons learned that I can share with you. Doing interviews in large corporations, small businesses, startups, schools, universities, nonprofits, you name it, anywhere in the world you go, for any interview you are going to do, the first question will always be the same. And it's some version of, who the hell are you? Now, it could be worded as, please tell us the aspects of your education, background, and experience relevant to this position. It could be, hey, nice to meet you. Let's have an informal chat about where you're coming from. Or it could be anything in between. But no matter where you go, for any job you interview for, question number one will always be the same, and that is some version of, who are you? Now, here's where it gets interesting. In all of the world, everybody that's out there, who is the foremost expert on that subject? You are. So what if I told you, on the day when your career is on the line, that you have worked years to get the opportunity to interview for your dream job, that the question that you're going to start with is one that you already know and you are the world's foremost expert on it? When you realize that, you realize that this is me as the interviewer throwing up a beautiful softball pitch for you to hit a grand slam home run. There is no reason why this shouldn't be the strongest answer in your portfolio of interview question answers. And I think I encourage you to use a little bit of human nature to your advantage here, and that is the halo effect or the recency bias. And if you give me a world-class, really strong, badass answer to question number one, you've just made a wonderful first impression. Everything else may not matter as much because I could have potentially already made up my mind that you are the person for the job. So you know what the question's gonna be, you are the world's foremost expert on it, and this is your big break, so you gotta make it count. Here's how you do it. Thinking about question number one, here's what I encourage you to do. The first thing is, write out your answers. You already know the question, you're the expert, you have time, take a piece of paper, get on a computer, and type out your answer. If you don't do this, there's a pretty good chance that you're not serious about the opportunity. The workbook that accompanies this class will give you tips and tricks and steps on how to formulate your answer for question number one. But every now and then, when I teach this class, I tell people to write out their answer, and they say, yeah, Frank, we'll get to it, don't worry, and they actually never do. And my feeling is, in that case, you're probably not that serious about the process and you're not that excited about the opportunity. But if you take the time, you write out your answer and you practice it, you've got a great opportunity of making an excellent first impression and killing it on question number one. So here's how I think about the question, and here's how I would suggest you begin to answer it. And it's really two different versions of the answer that we get. And the most common version that I receive when I ask someone, hey, tell me about your background and education, the most common version is what I call the Forrest Gump. And if you've seen the movie, it's about sort of a bumbling fellow who's going through life and different things are happening. And when I tell someone, hey, tell me about your background and education, I get what feels like the plot line to Forrest Gump. And it's a really windy, meandering, confusing, non-linear version and journey through their experience. And it's, okay, you know, first I was in Alabama, and then I had braces on my legs, and then I met Jenny, and then I went to Vietnam, and then I went shrimping, and all, you know, I'm just kind of going where life takes me. Life is a box of chocolates. And I get all sorts of ups and downs along the way. And I'm here to tell you, an interview is not a therapy session. Interview isn't where you have to bare your soul and tell me all the rough spots of your life. When you give me the Forrest Gump sort of wandering answer to question number one, it makes it hard for me to follow. It's including some lowlights in there that you really don't need to, and you're wasting an opportunity to make a great first impression. All too often in the answer, people tell me, oh, well, I was doing this, and then I got fired, and then I got a new job, and then my health got bad. And it's like, look, life happens, and I know that's the case for everybody. But this is not the time when you need to bare your soul. It's not the time when you need to share all the lowlights of your career. You don't need to tell me that you were laid off. You don't need to tell me that you got in trouble. You don't need to tell me that you didn't like your boss or you didn't like the job. All of those things put question marks in my head that are not going to help you be selected for the position that I have open. Instead of the Forrest Gump, instead of this wandering, meandering path, I'm encouraging you to do what I call your inevitable march to victory. Your inevitable march to victory should feel like a highlight reel of all of the greatest moments of your career that end in today as the ultimate day, and the only next logical step is that you are selected for this promotion. So it should feel like a very linear journey, and it should feel like a very clearly explainable path. And here's the thing, folks. Not everybody's life is like that. As a matter of fact, nobody's life is like that. But you can structure your answer to just give me the highlights, and that will really help make me feel like you are on an inevitable march to victory, and this is an unstoppable ride. The only thing standing in your way is me, and I should just offer you this opportunity. And so think about not giving me a wandering answer, think about giving me a linear journey to victory. And in the journey to victory, here are some things that you should consider. The first is you want to show increasing levels of responsibility. First it was just me and a mop, then it was me and 2 mops and a bucket, then I had 2 folks cleaning with me, then I had a crew of cleaning folks, and next thing I was a shift supervisor, now I'm an area supervisor, and who knows what's next. Whatever's standing in my way is whatever we're doing right here. You want to show me increasing levels of responsibility. You also want to show me along the way not just what you did, but the skills, knowledge, ability, tools that you picked up along the way. So you can say, hey, I was doing this job, okay, that's good. But you can say, in this role, I learned A, B, and C, and I got really good at practicing 1, 2, and 3. Or I was exposed to thoughts around this, that, and this. Don't just tell me what you did, but tell me what you took from it, because it's all those skills that you've gained along the way that are going to lead to your next role. And someone once told me that your career is really just a journey in solving incrementally more complex problems. And so what you really want to show me in your answer to question number 1 is that every problem and job you've had along the way, you've solved it. Think of it like a Rubik's Cube. Each job that you have, someone hands you a messed up Rubik's Cube, you have to take it, solve it, and then you hand it back, and they give you a more complex puzzle. And you're getting more complex puzzles along the way. And so in your inevitable march to victory, you want to show me at each career step in your life, you've taken a job, you've had an opportunity, you've done very well with it, and now you're looking for a bigger opportunity. If you give me the Forrest Gump and you take me on this long path, it's really hard for me to understand where your wins have come from, what you've done that's made you special and successful. It doesn't help me understand really what lessons or knowledge you've gained in your career along the way. But if you give me the logical march to victory, it feels like I'm watching your highlight reel. I don't have to watch the whole game. I just see all the wins that you've got. And if you've got those kind of wins under your belt already, I want you on my team to bring those kind of wins to whatever problem we're working on. So think about that for question number 1. Still thinking about the first question that you're going to answer in your big day interview, I want you to think about this. Each question that you answer should probably be between 3 and 5 minutes. But if you're going to go long on one answer, this is the answer that you want to go long on because you're the expert and it's about you. And you can add in there anything that you want to mention. So take an opportunity, write out your answer and memorize it, practice it, think about it, and know that if you're going to go long on one question, this is a good one to go long on. Don't go too long, and go back to what I was thinking about, whether you talk too much or you freeze up. If you talk too much, your answer to question number 1 could be all over the place. You want it to be a little bit longer than normal, maybe, because this is one where you should really kill it. Still on question number 1, here's another thing to think about. One of the biggest mistakes that people make when they interview with me is assuming that I know their career. They assume that I know what they've done. They assume that I know all of their highlights and wins and victories along the way. And team, that's a huge mistake. 90% of the time, maybe I've gotten your resume ahead of time, maybe I've been exposed to you in the work environment, but maybe not. I really don't know you as well as you think I do. And people come to the table, I ask them about themselves, and they say, oh, well, you know about me, and you've seen my resume, and you know, so I'm not gonna waste my time on that. That's a huge mistake. Use this opportunity to pump yourself up, be your biggest advocate, show the inevitable march to victory, and most importantly, assume that I don't know anything. Start from scratch, and you'd be surprised how many interviews I've gone on with people that I've worked with my whole life, and then I say, well, did you know this, this, and this in that answer? And they say, you know, I thought I'd heard that, or maybe, but I really didn't know until you explained it to me. And so all too often, people assume that I know everything ahead of time, and that's a big mistake. So go into question number one with a clean slate, give me all of the highlights, and don't take anything for granted. Don't think I've read your resume. Don't think I've gone through your personal history in depth. I really haven't. So this is your chance. Lay it all out on the line. So lastly, for question number one, let's just think about what you can demonstrate in your answer that will help you get the job. You can demonstrate increasing roles of responsibility. You can demonstrate different types of challenges that you've solved along the way. You can demonstrate that you've been successful and that you've created a lot of value or success along the way, and you can demonstrate confidence because you've been practicing it and you can speak to it really well. This is a great chance to throw some numbers out there. Numbers are really important in an interview because sometimes we just talk in generalities and wandering vagueness, and we don't hammer home the actual tangible metrics of your success. This is a great chance to say, I was in charge of 4 people. It's a great chance to say, I won the award in the second quarter. It's a great chance to say, I beat sales plan by 10%. This is the chance where you can throw some numbers out there and be really successful.